turn this. All right, Dan. Well, how did you get involved in the run across Ethiopia, first of all? Tell us kind of when and how it all happened to you.
Well, there's these three strange characters that came into my office one day. Actually, two in one day. But I'd been told about this by Bill Palladino through Facebook. They recommended that I Run Across Ethiopia, and I really didn't know too much about it. I'd just heard reference to it. And then all of a sudden Chris Treater and Hans Voss came in with problems with their legs. They needed to get patched up before they left. So I worked on them, and they liked what I was able to do with them. I offhandedly make comment, geez, you need somebody to be able to work on you throughout the whole run. You know, you're going to be doing that amount of mileage consecutive days, and they got excited. They got very excited about that prospect, and I thought there'd be no way that would work out. And then we talked about it a second time, and they were still excited about it. So when Hans called around, Bill jumped on the bandwagon. Apparently Timothy was already out of country at that point. Everybody seemed to like the idea, so I jumped on it. Seemed like a tremendous opportunity to me. So.
And you know, give us an analysis of how things are when, you know, nearly halfway through day 5, I guess.
Well, I'm not as much of the eternal optimist because I've been there, sort of thing. They're doing a hell of a lot better than I would have expected. I mean, ahead of time, and even my family, my father, the Olympian, brothers that have been collegiate runners and all that, they thought it was crazy to attempt this sort of thing. And
did you think it was a little crazy as well to attempt this thing?
Of course, I kind of like crazy though.
Yeah.
So, but you know, they're doing better than I thought they might, and I think a lot of the strength that they're accomplishing to manage that at this point is coming from the team unity as they come closer and closer with this. They're feeding off of each other, and the support staff and all that sort of thing. And I think it's all making a difference to keep them going. And a little bit of injury here and there, all the normal aches and pains, not anything more than I would have expected, probably a good deal less than what I would have expected, or what I did expect ahead of time.
I mean, Hans and Claire seem to be pretty good examples of people who've been battling injuries or soreness and have gotten back out there. I mean, Claire never was taken off the trail, but talk about each of their kind of situations or cases.
Claire has an IT band situation that is probably built up from her college running, and this is going to bring out every little issue that may have been lurking beneath the surface. 30 miles a day is going to bring it out, and it did. Both legs. She was in a lot of pain. She's getting better day by day. I've worked on her twice now, and hopefully by the end of the run she's going to be feeling actually as good as can be. I don't think her IT bands will be too much of an issue and maybe in just another couple of days. She was hurting badly a couple of days ago though, but she still was toughing it through. She knew she was going to stick with the team. Team was supporting her.
And how about Hans? Is his ankle significantly better than it was a day or two ago, or is he gutting it out?
2 days ago, Hans stepped in the first mile, or at about the mile point, he stepped on one of the rocks that we had at that point. Still, there were a lot of rocks, and he stepped on that or something like it and had a pretty good twist. And it wouldn't have been so bad if it had been a 5-mile run, but he had another 29 to go. He made it. It was exceedingly difficult for him, very painful. Yesterday he wisely decided to sit out, gave me a chance to work on it twice, and it's bounced back really well. And we've braced him up a little bit today. He's making it through. Actually, he looks pretty darn good. He knows he will back out of the run today if he needs to, but so far, from what he's told me, he feels good. The leg is feeling good, so I'll work on it again tonight and tomorrow and the next day, and hopefully he won't have to stop again.
How about Norm Plumstead? I mean, he was one of the leaders the first few days, had some stomach issues yesterday.
What I'm starting to learn is our drivers were both rather sick last night. Norm was affected by something. Eka, one of our translators, had a sour stomach last night, and I'm thinking that's what affected Danae, who is not with us today, but she's had problems for 2 days. And the heat got to her, but I think she became dehydrated because of a bug. Now we've got others, maybe it's a food poisoning, mild issue like that, and I think that's what we're dealing with there. So Norm has had the effects of that. He's better conditioned and able to work through it, perhaps. And he had a kind of miserable day yesterday, but he made it through today. He's doing, it looks like, significantly better. We'll see how he's doing at mile 20.
Right. this is the third day of 4 consecutive 30-mile days, perhaps the period from hell, if you will, in the middle of this race, or I'm sorry, the middle of this marathon. After day 6, at which point that's the end of the 30-milers, and we start going uphill but running fewer miles. Does the strategy change at all from your perspective?
I don't foresee too much that way. I could see the possibility of working on drafting, possibly. When you're going uphill and you have that amount of difficulty, you put the stronger runners in the front, have people draft. It's not a fast pace or anything. If there's any headwind, then we use whatever we can to make it easier for the runners who aren't feeling as strong at the moment. And little things like that I would try to pull out of my bag of tricks to help them along.
Any questions, Anne or Timothy?
Oh, I just wanted to ask Dan a little bit more about running form. I'm going to kind of do like a little sort of blog just sort of devoted to running, the different styles of the runners in terms of how to be the most efficient.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mentioned to you earlier, you want the T on the chest sort of thing and all that kind of stuff. Okay, well, if you imagine a capital T across your chest and down the middle for the stem of the T. These folks running this kind of mileage and any distance run, you basically don't want to have an arm carriage that brings your hands above the top of the T, and you don't want to cross over the center line of the T. For efficiency, that's going to help keep you from bouncing and twisting the body, extra movement not being of any real value and actually more wearing on the run. It's going to help you smooth out. What I've been telling the runners here and there is to look at the horizon and see if it's bouncing excessively and try to level it as much as they can. The more they can have the horizon or a sign or a tree in the distance not bounce, the more smoothly they're running, and they'll absorb and rock and turn from their hips rather than pushing off on their toes, fatiguing themselves excessively. Those are like the two key points that I've been trying to make with people so far. And then I just kind of hit little things on the fly, and yesterday I talked to them about checking in and checking out. God, if any of my high school runners see this, they're going to be going, geez, coach taught me all of this stuff. But check in, all the body processes, see how things are working. Do I need to relax? Do I need to change my stride? Check out, disassociate, and enjoy the scenery. And check in and out repeatedly.
Now, some of the runners, some think that it's better to, like you've got Timothy, right, on the toes with your running shoes. Others feel like at the slower pace, it's better to hit more on the, like, mid-foot or, square on the foot.
Yeah. Which is better?
Yeah, which is better?
Which is better?
Oh, and also,
isn't that the big argument at the moment?
Nigel's switching on and off with his shoes.
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't think, if you didn't have the modern running shoes, I don't believe that you would be running on your heels. I think that's more of an avocation of modern technology. I think that, well, you can, it'd be great catch a little video of kids' feet while they're out here running in their flip-flops and all, and you're going to see that they're either virtually flat-footed or they're just barely on their toes, the ball of their foot, as they land and impact. But you don't see them coming out with their toes up in the air, hitting hard on their heels with their feet well out in front of them. They meet the ground underneath their knee and draw back. They're meeting the ground as they're already on the slightly into the backswing of the leg in that pendulum motion of the leg stride, so that they meet the ground. It's very smooth and fluid. It's that relying on the cushioning of the shoes when you get the heel well out in front of the knee and jarring action. That's why people get into knee problems, hips and back problems. I've been running seriously for 40 years and I have no knee problems. I used to cover hundreds of miles.
So sort of laying on the middle of your foot then?
Yes, I mean, if I'm running a 5K on the track, then I'm up on my toes. If I'm a sprinter, I'm really up on my toes. I'm on the ball of my foot on a 5,000 meter or a 10,000 meter. When you slow down to a pace like this, you're pretty much running flat foot, where you should be. You're going to come down, if you're a toe striker, you come down the slower the pace.
Right. And is his name Abara? Abara?
Abara.
Abara.
Yeah.
Sometimes he just needs to take off and run back because he just gets so, is it frustrated?
No, it's not frustrated. It just feels good. It's almost like a race engine. He's got a race engine. He's a 2:15 marathoner. He's pretty good. He's found out last night he's only been running 3 years.
Wow.
And he's got a race engine in him. It's ready to roll. He needs to go out and essentially clean out the carbon, blow it out, come back, change pace, and then be back with the crowd again.
Cool. Thanks, Dan.